Well, hello! Welcome back to Hobbies with Jose. Today we've got a very special episode. Recently I did a live build of the Trumpeter Bumblebee model kit, which hopefully you've checked out. Thank you to everybody who joined, and if not, link is in the description. But today we are going to complete our build and give him a fresh coat of paint. And yeah, this is going to be part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the finale. Let's go! Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So good to have you back. We're finally gonna get our little Bumblebee model kit done today, which I've been looking forward to forever. Now, normally what I would need to do first is undo the assembly of the kit and get them back down to as many pieces as possible. But first, we do have a boo-boo to fix. So unfortunately, we did have a bit of a mishap during the live build, and the joint on his foot really snapped on us. This ball joint sits at an angle which makes it a bit tricky to connect to the foot, and mine didn't survive, unfortunately. But I do think I have a fix in mind for it. Now, I did purchase a set of pins in the past in the hopes of maybe printing out my own figures in the future and using these for articulation. But today, I'm gonna see if I can't use one to fix our Bumblebee, so let's get started. Well, it's not the most perfect connection, but I think it should do the job in staying in place. I'm going to let this dry for a little bit, and then we'll start on the disassembly. So we finally have all of our pieces disassembled. Some were a bit trickier than others, but we managed to do it. And so we're now ready to strip the paint, which I have my solution here. Once again, 9 parts, 91% isopropyl alcohol, and 1 part lacquer thinner. Now the only piece that I'm not going to strip the paint on is the head. I do want to try and preserve the very nicely painted Autobot symbol on the forehead. So if anything, I may try to strip the paint by hand and then just paint around it with a brush, but I'll see what works best. So let's give them about a good half hour and we'll come back and check on them then. And we're back. It's actually been about an hour, but that's okay, it doesn't have to be exact. We're gonna go ahead and pour everything out onto this old tupper that I have and brush off the excess paint with an old toothbrush. Looks like some of these pieces are going to have some really stubborn paint, but that's really okay. We're going to prime over everything anyways. So we did go ahead and scrub off all of the excess paint, at least the paint that wasn't so stubborn. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and scrub them down with some all-purpose cleaner, get all of the stripper off of them, and just clean them up with some warm water. And we're back. Our piece is nice and dry now, which has actually been drying for about 2 weeks now. That's how long it's taken me to film this extra episode. But anyways, what we're gonna do now is to mask off all of the parts on our piece that we don't want any paint to get on. So we'll grab our Tamiya masking tape and get started. So now that we have all of our pieces primed and ready for color, I had actually assumed that we'd be spray painting the color as well. But you know what? I think our pieces are small enough where we can get away with just brushing our color on instead. So we're gonna go ahead and do just that by adding multiple thin coats. Now, as for all of the metallic parts, I'm going to stick with Model Master Steel. It's actually the same paint I used on my very first Custom Studio Series Bumblebee, and I think it looked pretty good. Whoa, hang on a second. Now before we do cross that finish line, there's one last thing we need to do, and that's work on the base a little bit. Now the included base is perfectly adequate. It's definitely simple enough that it gets the job done, and you do have your choice of an Autobot or Decepticon symbol to add onto it, depending on what figure you're building. But I wanted to make it just a little bit extra special, and see if I can make a custom plaque specifically for Bumblebee. So after toiling away with Blender a few weeks learning the ins and outs, and getting just enough of a grasp on the tools available, I was able to come up with this. Nothing too fancy, nothing too complicated, but now we have Bumblebee's name on it. And after test fitting this, making sure it fits okay, we're gonna go ahead and prime this up and add some color to it. Now you might be thinking that because it's a simple little innocent model kit, it was perhaps super easy to repaint, no trouble whatsoever. Well, you'd be wrong. Some of you might remember from 2,500 subscribers ago when I live built this thing, it wasn't exactly the smoothest process, right? Some pieces were almost impossible to put together, and another piece just flat out broke on us. So then doing the disassembly, the repaint, and reassembly, it was a challenge. Not to mention that some of these pieces are the softer plastic, which is almost impossible to paint. One of the biggest pieces being the lower leg sections. I guess you can call them the shin guards. That entire piece has to bend and conform out of shape around another piece just to fit into place. So yeah, there were parts of the paint that just flaked off during reassembly, causing me to touch it up a bit afterwards. So just with that fact alone, this figure is a bit tricky to handle. But man, does that paint job not benefit the little guy? Yeah, built right out of the box, the figure looks good. I wouldn't say great, it looks good. Having that coat of a glossy yellow and the steel paint really does help the figure come together as a whole. And of course, not to mention the final touches like the panel lining, the weathering, which on this figure is essential. I really did try to look closely at shots from the movie to recreate that worn-in look. I think that overall, I did accomplish that. And this is without a doubt the best Bumblebee figure I own. Going all the way back to my very first custom Studio Series Bumblebee, and me just trying to recreate his look from the movie, I think this little guy shows just how far I've come. I do look forward to building the others, but man, that disassembly, reassembly process, it's kind of murder. But one of the things that does motivate me to keep doing the other Trumpeter kits is of course the customized plate I was able to do for the base. I will admit that was the one thing I had my doubts if I would be able to achieve or not. That entailed in finally getting my 3D resin printer up and running, getting all the troubleshoots done to finally getting good prints, and basically learning just enough Blender to get the job done. It might seem like something that's very simple, and it is really, but it does kind of unify the whole thing together. So I would be very much excited to make some custom plates for the rest of the figures too. Which, by the way, I do have the STL file uploaded to Thingiverse, which I have the link down below, and it's a free download. So if you have a printer yourself, feel free to check it out. Okay, but now let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. This video has been almost a year and a half in the making. That intro you saw almost a half hour ago now was filmed around April of 2022. Ooh, not getting fatter, am I? Now, why did it take me so long to get this completed? A couple of reasons, actually. Now, number one, I was initially filming this in between filming other videos. Now, spoilers, this channel is still a hobby of mine. I have a 9-to-5 job and I do this in my spare time. So trying to film a bonus project on top of my regular projects, on top of my regular job, proved to be very unsustainable very fast. So yeah, it kind of just fell to the wayside. But then when I decided to no longer have weekly videos, I did decide that this was going to be the first project out of the door. I needed to get it done at that point. But unfortunately, my dad had some medical issues which put a stop to everything for about a good month. I mean, that's life, right? Things happen, but thankfully he's doing good. But then finally, I was able to just knuckle down and finish the mission. I'm happy to have this project behind me, and I don't intend to touch another Trumpeter kit for a while. Maybe when we hit 4,000, I don't know, we'll see. But from the bottom of my heart, I do want to say thank you all for sticking around for all this time. I do know that probably a lot of you don't care about the unboxing videos, but I do love them, so we're gonna see more of that. But if anything, it should hopefully be a more steady mix of actual projects and outside the boxes. But again, thank you all so much for sticking around. You can all feel free to catch me on all the social medias. The links are down below. I'm also on Threads. We'll see how long that lasts. But primarily, you can get in contact with me via the Discord, which is a great place. There's a great bunch there. And of course, I'm still streaming on Twitch, where I recently started playing Yakuza Kiwami and having an absolutely great time there. Micheladas are helping, so feel free to check it out. And of course, feel free to check out the merch store too. Plenty of awesome stuff there. But remember, if you like what you saw, you know what to do, right? Hit the like and subscribe button. But I will see you all relatively soonish because I am going to Maui, baby! Take care and aloha! Woo! Let's go!
Yeah.